Hello and welcome to NACTV Reads the News. My name is Gwen Jacobsen and I'm one of many volunteers that help create programming for our station. NACTV can be seen on MTS Channel 30 or 1030, Westman Cable Channel 17, Bell Satellite Channel 592, or online at nactv.tv. These programs are made possible by our volunteers, staff, advertisers, as well as donations made by you, the viewers. If you are enjoying your NACTV experience, please consider supporting us by either donation or volunteering. You can contact our office at 204-476-2639 or at nactv@wcgwave.ca. So this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press is dated Friday, November the 17th, 2023. We have a very nice picture of our Remembrance Day service held at the Yellowhead Hall. We will remember them. Members of the Neepawa branch number 23 Ladies Auxiliaries and the community of Neepawa at large gathered at the Yellowhead Hall to honor those who served. And we have more pictures at the back. The Remembrance Day service in Neepawa took place at the Yellowhead Hall. Hundreds of people attended on Saturday, November the 11th. The services included a wreath-laying ceremony from representatives from the Legion, the Ladies Auxiliaries, the RCMP, the Cadets, and the Armed Forces. So looks like it was attended very well, and here's all the wreaths that were put down. All right, Neepawa won't pay late notice on rent increase by Owen Devereaux. We have a picture of the beautiful Plains County Court building. Just like almost everyone else out there right now, the town of Neepawa has seen an increase in their expenses come up out of nowhere. The unexpected expenditure in question here for the town relates to a 2023 rent increase from the beautiful Plains County Courthouse. Town administration recently received a notice on the rise in rent to the building as it has gone up to $24,900 from the previous amount of $16,900. This notice was received well after Town Council had finalized its budget for 2023. According to the Beautiful Plains County Buildings Act, on an annual basis, the maintenance of the building is to be equitably split between the town of Neepawa, the RM of Rosedale, and the municipality of North Cypress Langford. From the Beautiful Plains County Buildings Act, SM 1989 to 90, C 68 SCHE. So this is the act. The rents and profits derived from the premises and buildings shall be divided between the municipalities on a basis of the extent of the interest of each of the municipalities therein, as determined by the Minister of Rural Development, and all expenditures in connection therewith shall be borne and paid by the municipalities in like proportions. The costs are currently divided on a 50-25-25 basis, with Neepawa looking after the coverage of 50% of the cost. The money is provided to the Beautiful Plains County Courthouse Committee, who manages and operates the building. In regard to this new rent amount request, Councillor Daryl Gerard, who is also board member on the Courthouse Committee, suggested that Neepawa should honor the budget amount previously agreed upon before they received this new invoice. He said this increased amount is now 6 months after the fact, when that budget was supposed to be passed, and it's outside of our budget process. Mayor and council agreed and choose to move ahead with supporting the courthouse to its previously agreed upon amount of $16,900. The Beautiful Plains County Courthouse Committee does have surplus funds at its disposal, though the exact amount available is not known publicly. Prairie Mountain Health CEO announces upcoming retirement. Submitted by the Prairie Mountain Health. The Board of Directors of Prairie Mountain Health announced today that CEO Brian Schoonbar will be retiring effective April the 5th, 2024. An extensive recruitment process for a new Chief Executive Officer is now underway. In acknowledging receipt of his retirement notice at its October meeting, Board of Directors Chairperson Lon Cullen stated, "It is with mixed emotions that the PMH board accepted Brian's notice of retirement. Brian's commitment to providing quality health care and supporting all PMH staff, physicians, and volunteers has always been evident. All who have worked with him will miss Brian's positive, welcoming, and genuine approach." Schoonberg's career in healthcare has spanned over 35 years, initially as a finance director for BGTW, which stands for Balder, Glenborough, Treeherne, and Wawanesa. Then as Vice President, Finance and Information Services for Brandon General Hospital and Brandon RHA. In 2011, he became Chief Executive Officer for Brandon RHA. With the amalgamations of health regions in 2012, Schoonberg assumed the role of Vice President, Finance, Capital, Support Services, and Chief Operating Officer of BRHC for Prairie Mountain Health. In 2018, he was seconded to the Manitoba, He was seconded to the Manitoba Transformation Management Office, known as TMO, leading several initiatives for the TMO. And in 2021, Schoonbart assumed the role of Chief Executive Officer for Prairie Mountain Health. Cullen added, "Brian is looking forward to spending time with his family, his wife Marianne, their 6 children, and 18 grandchildren. We thank Brian for his commitment, passion, and dedication to Prairie Mountain Health. We wish him a happy and healthy retirement." Now we have an article here about a missing Minnedosa man. It has now been over 2 weeks since Minnedosa's Jamie Wade was last seen, and RCMP are asking for your help in finding him. The 55-year-old was first identified as missing on October the 31st. Wade was last seen along with his vehicle at a gas station in Brandon on October 27th at 6:30 p.m. The investigation into his disappearance suggests that from the gas station, Wade returned to his home in the RM of Oakview. Minnedosa RCMP, along with the RCMP Major Crime Services, which includes search and rescue and police dog services, have conducted searches with no results so far. Police are asking anyone who may have seen Wade on Friday, October 27th in and around Brandon to contact the Minnedosa RCMP at 204-867-2916 or call Manitoba Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477. Secure online tips can also be made at www.manitobacrimestoppers.com. And here there is a picture of this Jamie Wade of Minnedosa. Now, the Neepawa Rotary Club is again having an online auction, raising funds to support community projects. It will be held December 1st to the 7th. A complete list of auction items will be in the November 24th and the December 1st issues of the Neepawa Banner and Press. To view items online and to register to bid on items, go to neepawa.charity-auctions.ca. And the Rotary, the Roxy Theatre in Neepawa. The next show is called Killers of the Flower Moon. Ooh. This is what it's about. When oil is discovered in 1920s Oklahoma under Osage Nation land, the Osage people are murdered one by one until the FBI steps in to unravel the mystery. It stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro, and Lily Gladstone, and it is a 14A movie. This will be shown November the 17th and 18th at 7:30 p.m. And after that, there will be no movies until 2024. And it says, Happy Holidays. All right, we'll maybe come back to that. Right, out of Helen's Kitchen, Helen Drysdale. This week, her article is about squash. Squash, including pumpkins and gourds, is one of the earliest of plants domesticated in the Americas. Squash, eaten for well over 10,000 years, began as wild squash was eventually grown in gardens. In the Americas, squash was one of 3 primary crops grown by the indigenous peoples, the other 2 being corn and beans. Known as the 3 sisters, the corn provided a structure for the climbing beans, and squash provided ground cover to hold moisture. With some squash varieties being able to be stored for months at a time, squash became a very reliable crop during periods when other food types were scarce. Squash are fruits. This is because it contains seeds and comes from the flowering part of plants. Many squash have a mild, nutty flavor, and so we think of them as a vegetable. The first European settlers to America were not familiar with squash when they first came across it. It soon became a commonly used food, and squash was added to stews, used as a vegetable side dish, and made into pumpkin ale. The first known pumpkin pie recipe was published in a cookbook in 1796. When buying squash, choose one that is hard and heavy for its size. A dry, scaly patch on the skin does not matter. However, molds or soft spots do matter. There are summer squash which have a soft, edible skin and a lighter flavor than winter squash with its hard shell. Winter squash have thicker skin and can be stored for a lot longer. To prepare squash, cut the squash in half and scoop out the seeds. Peel the pieces of squash, cut into smaller pieces, then roast, steam, braise, or add to a stew. Squash is low in calories, high in fiber, and an excellent source of A, B, and C vitamins and minerals such as potassium and magnesium. So there's 5 different types. Now this is Helen talking. Buttercup squash is my favorite. They are the sweetest variety of squash, have a drier flesh, are round and green, about the shape and size of a small pumpkin with orange flesh. These are great in soups, wonderful steamed or sliced and roasted for a delicious side dish. Butternut are shaped like a bottle with a long neck and a short bulbous end. They have a light beige skin that's slightly orange. The flesh, on the other hand, is a deep orange. This squash is a go-to for baking, stews, and soups. Very tasty and sweet. Hubbard squash's tough skin makes it challenging to open. This giant squash has a lumpy exterior that ranges in color from orange to green. It's one of the biggest squash varieties and can weigh up to 15 pounds. These squash are excellent when mashed with butter, salt, pepper, and a dash of nutmeg. Acorn squash grows between 1 and 3 pounds. They have a yellow to green skin, a bright orange flesh, and they're shaped like acorns, hence their name. They are most delicious when stuffed or baked for a long time. Pumpkins are so much more than decoration and pumpkin pie. Pumpkin can be used with any squash recipe and goes well with strong, spicy flavors like curry dishes. And Helen has 2 recipes this week. One is scalloped squash and the other is baked acorn squash. All right, Restorative Justice at Work in BP Detachment Area by Ken Waddell. The Spruce Plains Restorative Justice Committee has been around for decades. Lauren Huck of Neepawa just became chairman this year. He and several other area citizens have served on the committee for many years. The committee is made up of 11 members, and the coverage area reflects the boundaries of the Spruce Plains RCMP detachment. In an interview with the Neepawa Banner and Press, Huck said, "We review cases for both young and adults. Cases are referred to us by both the RCMP and the Crown Attorney. Most are first offense cases. If the committee can work out a solution, it takes the load off the court system." To honor the work of the committee and create awareness of what they do in the various Spruce Plains Detachment area communities, Neepawa Mayor Brian Headley has declared November the 19th to the 26th as Restorative Justice Week in the town of Neepawa. Neepawa's snow clearing contract approved by Owen Devereaux. Neepawa's snow removal contracts for the upcoming winter have been finalized. Since 2017, the agreement has been split between a pair of local companies, P. Baker Backhoe Service and Rob Smith & Son Backhoe and Trucking Limited. Mountain Avenue has served as the dividing line for the snow clearing duties, with Pat Baker responsible for the west side of Neepawa, while the east side is handled by Rob Smith & Son. The financial details on the agreement were not released publicly. As well, the town of Neepawa and Manitoba Infrastructure and Transportation, known as MIT, have agreed to a new snow removal deal for 2023 and 24. An agreement has to be made between the two sides. It is for the removal of snow from portions of Mountain Avenue to Commerce Street, which does fall under MIT's jurisdiction. The rate paid for snow removal will be $9,885, which is unchanged from last year. Okay, here's an article about Carberry. Carberry artist finds healing in art by Jolene Balciunas of the Local Journalism Initiative. Erin Witherspoon is a highly successful Westman artist from Carberry. She grew up, raised her children in Carberry, and never dreamed nor expected to become an artist. After some of life's struggles, she began experiencing anxiety and mental health issues, leading her to seek the help of a therapist. While working through her internal struggles, she started doodling in her journal. While working with her therapist, they soon realized there were patterns emerging in her journaling. There was something more to those doodles, leading her to explore art as part of her healing journey. Finding her niche and passion in art, she started creating beautiful pieces of musicians while listening to their music. Art became a significant part of her life, and her creative process has turned to helping others. Art journaling doesn't have to be complicated. Erin encourages people to use what you have on hand and explore different techniques. It can be as simple as an old book and watercolors or doodling in a notebook. Art journaling is a great way for people of all ages to work through emotions that can be difficult to put in words. There can be fear associated with writing down one's feelings, where with art, it provides an unfiltered outlet for our thoughts and emotions. Erin has taught in-person classes as far away as California at Camp Heal. During the pandemic, she helped teachers and students on Zoom classes learn how to calm the mind and turn the mind chatter down. While our community of Carberry is working through recent tragedies, Erin felt her unique skills could help her home community heal. Erin is offering an art journaling for mental health class in Carberry with the Carberry Arts Council on November the 25th. For more information, please call 204-834-6617 or crbyarts@gmail.com. Erin's work will be showcased in her first solo art show in Arts Forward in Neepawa in May for Mental Health Awareness Month. She also hosts unique paint nights in Brandon, such as her upcoming Brews and Brushes Paint Your Pet night at Black Wheat Brewing. And here's an example of the artwork created by Erin Witherspoon of Carberry. It's lovely. And speaking of Carberry, here are a few things happening around Carberry. Saturday, November 18th, 10 a.m. to 3 a.m. I don't know if that means a.m. or p.m. Carberry Arts Council Handmade Market at the Carberry Memorial Hall. Sunday, November 19th, Grey Cup viewing event at the Carberry Legion. Doors open at 4 p.m. Friday, starting November 24th, Adult Co-ed Volleyball, Carberry Collegiate Gym, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. And last, every Monday to Thursday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at R.J. Wow Elementary School. They walk the halls. All right, next, public asked to assist with the bike park mystery. Ooh. By Owen Devereaux. The town of Neepawa is asking for your help to track down a mystery motorcyclist who is destroying a community asset. Over the past several weeks, the same dirt bike has been observed on the High Life Back 40 multi-use trail park. This park is only built for bicycles and cannot accommodate motorized vehicles such as dirt bikes or quads. Those types of machines cause extensive damage to the trail. In a message posted on their social media, which included a picture of the rider, the town of Neepawa stated, "The trails are not meant for motorized vehicles and wrecks the integrity of the packed clay. This can cause mountain bikers serious harm if they hit jumps or runs, etc., that have been damaged by this person. At this time, the town is not assuming that the rider is doing this out of malice, only perhaps ignorance of the local bylaws. At this time, they don't wish to turn this situation into a criminal matter. If anyone has information, they are asked to email us at info@neepawa.ca. Neepawa Titans wear Remembrance Day jersey. The Neepawa Titans were looking good in their commemorative Remembrance Day jerseys on Saturday, November the 11th in their game versus Dauphin. The jerseys have now been auctioned off with proceeds going to our local Legion number 23. Oh, good for them. What else? And along with the sports, we have a great article here. It's called Teaching Lessons Bigger Than Basketball. Grant Hurrell named recipient of inaugural Ann Kuharski Memorial Sportsperson of the Year by Owen Devereaux. When Grant Jaime Hurrell was announced Sportsperson of the Year, the crowd sentiment seemed to be, why has it taken this long? That's because Hurrell's contributions have been a vital part of sports in Neepawa for over 50 years, and he's still going all out in his community. On Friday, November the 10th, Grant Hurrell, known to many as Jaime, received the inaugural Ann Kuharski Memorial Sportsperson of the Year award. He was given the honor during the Neepawa Sports Dinner at the Yellowhead Center. The pedigree for this selection is beyond reproach, as he has been a recognizable face at a wide array for sporting events. He's been a coach over the years in the NACI basketball program, most recently mentoring the junior varsity boys team. His love of the hard court has also extended into assisting with the formation and operation of the Neepawa Filipino Basketball League, now known as Neepawa Ballers. As well, Hurrell's passion for sport goes beyond basketball, as he has refereed high school football for decades and contributed to the local commercial hockey league. In her introduction for Hurrell, Sylvie Tomanico noted that Jaime cared about more than just the fundamentals of the game. She said he taught the students life lessons of respect for themselves, their opponents, and the game itself. It is worth mentioning that with Jaime at the helm coaching, sportsmanship was equal in importance to skill, respect your opponents, and respect the officials, in fact. Respect everyone you meet. And this presented itself to us both on and off the court, said Tomanico. This recognition was a bit unexpected for Hurrell, as in the moment he could simply just thank everyone for the honor. The Banner and Press was able to catch up to Jaime a little later on after he had some time to reflect. He said, "It's nice to get recognized for the time you put in, but that's not why I do it. That is not why I think any of us do it. It's to give back to the game and the community that's given so much to me. And that's something I hope the players get from me. That when you're a dad, coach basketball, coach soccer, whatever, give back the lessons, the life lessons you're receiving now, pay it forward." As for the award itself, it has been renamed after Ann Kuharski, the former Yellowhead Center's building manager and director of operations. She ran the facility from 1999 to 2017 and was a very well regarded and beloved member of our community. She passed away this past October at the age of 64. Hurrell said being the first to receive this new award is special. Ann was incredible. She did so much for the Yellowhead and for the town in general. It means a lot more to be named with Ann. Now, the Neepawa Tigers hockey off to a strong start. The Neepawa, they've had several impressive wins. The Neepawa Area Collegiate Institute, or NACI, Tigers hockey team played against the BSR Falcons on Sunday, November 12th. They won with a score of 4-1. Goals were scored by Callan Dembo in the first period, and by Riley Davey, Zach Plett, and Cohen Kalbaki in the third period. And still on sports, Neepawa Titans bested by Dauphin by Owen Devereaux. Despite solid stretches of play throughout the game, the Neepawa Titans were unable to keep pace with the Dauphin Kings on Saturday, November 11th, falling 5-2. Neepawa opened the scoring at 11:54 into the first period as Tim Taconic picked up his second goal of the season. Late in the period, however, Dauphin scored a pair to take a 2-1 lead after 20 minutes. Shots on goal were 13-13, so it was close. In the second period, Dauphin collected a pair of goals to make it 4-1. As for shots on goal, it was 17-10 for the Kings. For the third period, Neepawa had a much stronger effort out on the ice, but it did not translate to a comeback. Cody Gwennison did score one for the Titans on a penalty kill, but that would be it for the home side. The Kings added one more goal before the end of the game to make the final score 5-2. Dauphin had 33 shots on goal for the game, while Neepawa registered 35. The Titans went 0 for 2 on the power play, while Dauphin was 2 for 6 on their extra man chances. With the loss, Neepawa's regular season record fell to 6-11-1, good enough for 5th place in the MJHL's West Division. Next up for Neepawa will be a pair of games this weekend at home. First, they face Selkirk Steelers, who are 7-10-1 with 15 points on Friday, and on November 17th, and then follow that up the next night against the Niverville Nighthawks, who are 12-7-1 with 25 points, who I know Neepawa beat Niverville this past, during the week, the middle of the week. I think it was 5-3. So that should be a good game. Now, the Neepawa Farmers win big in Hartney by Owen Devereaux. The Neepawa Farmers had their most productive offensive outing in Hartney over the weekend, besting the Blues by a 7-3 score. Zach Hicks, who was also the Titans' assistant coach, opened up the scoring early for Neepawa with a goal just over 6 minutes into the first period. Before the end of the night, Hicks would also add 4 assists, giving him an impressive 5-point performance in just his second game of the year for Neepawa. It was also a breakout game for Braden Gillies and Kyle McDonald, who each scored twice. Both of Gillies' goals were from power play opportunities, with his first at the midpoint of the first, while his follow-up came near the end of regulation. McDonald, meanwhile, scored both his goals in the second period. Fellow former Neepawa native Reagan Buchanan also scored just before the end of the second, giving the Farmers a comfortable 5-0 lead. Hartley would score twice in the final frame before Brad Marshall got one back for the Farmers. That's Hartney would score. Brad Marshall got one back for the Farmers on a power play chance. Nick Cowan of Hartney, I remember him, and Gillies for Neepawa closed out the game with goals for their respective clubs. Goaltender Reese Jones earned himself the win in the Farmers' net with 22 saves. The win improved Neepawa's regular season record in the Tiger Hills Hockey League to 2-2-0 on the year. Now, in Deloraine, Minnedosa was playing. Matt Saylor just went off on the Deloraine Royals, scoring the first 4 goals for Minnedosa on the way to an 8-2 Bombers win. All of his goals came in the first period, including one just 40 seconds into the game. To go along with his goals, Saylor also added a pair of assists. He was on fire. Other goal scorers for Minnedosa were Mark Willis, Cale Hutlett, and Shane Jury, who collected a pair. The Minnedosa win improved their record to 2-2-0. Their next 2 games will be on the road in McGregor and Gladstone on November 17th and 18th, respectively. Now, for Gladstone, there were a pair of games played by the Gladstone Lakers last weekend. The team ended up with some mixed results, winning big over Carberry 8-1, but faltering against the Rivers Jets by a 6-2 score. In their victory over Carberry, the Lakers scored the first 5 goals and cruised from there. The offense was also a total team effort, as there were 7 different goal scorers. John Bolio was the only multiple scorer, picking up 2 on the night. Carson Nakanekni had the lone goal for Carberry in the loss. It wasn't quite as positive for Gladstone the next night, as they were beaten by Rivers 6-2. Sean Kubis had both goals for the Lakers in the loss. This defeat was the first of the year for Gladstone, who are now tied for first in the East Division with the Killarney Shamrocks with identical 3-1-0 records. All right. Okay. We won't read that. Okay. Hope Group brings hope to those in need in Neepawa. NACI Hope Group's annual fall food drive was a massive success. This year, an impressive 3,544 pounds of food was collected. Thank you to our community and Hope members for collecting the food. As well, a thanks to the Neepawa Rotary Club who supplied the bags used for the collection. Additional details on this year's effort will appear in an upcoming edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press. All right. Touchwood Park reopens its retail store. Touchwood Park in Neepawa reopened their retail store last week. The store features the work of the Touchwood clients and includes artwork, crafts, and woodworking items. Touchwood Park was established in 1963. Therefore, the opening is an appropriate event to help celebrate the 60th anniversary. Pictured above is Agassiz MLA Jody Byram stopping by at the opening to offer her congratulations and do a bit of Christmas shopping. And here we have Devrin's favorite activity at Touchwood is woodworking. November's theme is everything Swiss, and this St. Bernard he's working on will guard your eyeglasses all night. Carberry Plainsman down Melita by Jolene Belsiunas. The senior Carberry Plainsmen saw exciting action in the Tiger Hills Hockey League this weekend, traveling to Gladstone on Friday evening. The Plainsmen came up with the loss with the only goal, I think I just read most of this, by Carson Akonechny, assisted by Zane McConnell and Tavish Quinn. Gladstone ended up winning 8-1. Saturday saw the Plainsmen in Melita for a shutout win with Connor Slip in net. First period scoring was by Jaden Johnson, Matthias Van de Woestijn. Second period goals were by Jory Aiken. Though 4-0 win puts Carberry at a 2-3 standing. And just a reminder, the Glorious Christmas Wish Sale in Neepawa will be held Saturday, November the 25th at the Yellowhead Center Hall from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. There will be 50 plus vendors, a silent auction, door prizes, and a 50-50. And there's going to be a Santa Parade of Lights Saturday, November the 25th. That's always the same day as the craft sale in downtown Neepawa. The parade starts at 6 p.m. starting at the Yellowhead Center parking lot and ending at Buds and Bloom. There will be a free movie at 2 p.m. at the Roxy Theater, and Santa will be handing out candy bags for the kids at the end of the movie. The movie is courtesy of Kinley Thompson Chartered Accountants, sponsored by the Neepawa and District Chamber of Commerce. That's awesome. All right, let's see, what should we read next? Homebodies by Rita Friesen. Trail of Trials. To state that the week past is one I would not willingly repeat is an understatement. It started out well enough. I attended a funeral for a member of the extended family in Carmen Monday afternoon. There was opportunity to catch up with folks that I have not seen for several years. There was an opportunity for well-meaning folks to tell me that I have not changed a bit in the last 2 decades. Well, maybe not on the outside. However, coming home right after sunset at Woodside, I struck not 1, but 2 deer. The fawn pushed back the grill and broke the front fender. The mama, well, she took out the light, contorted the front fender, and indented both doors on the passenger side. Gathering my scattered wits about me, I pulled over to assess the damage and the possibility of continuing on the drive home. A very kind and considerate gentleman pulled over behind me, inquired as to my wellness, and helped assess the damage. No liquids were leaking, and we were able to pull the plastic away from rubbing on the tire. He asked where I was headed, and learning that my home was in Neepawa, he calmly said that that was where he was going, to take his daughter to the doctor here. He volunteered to follow me for my peace of mind, not minding that we were not going to be traveling highway speed. At the edge of town, I pulled over again to reiterate my deepest appreciation, and he was so gracious. There are some very good people all around us. That was one thing. I have been having more difficulty than usual getting a good night's sleep, so I have followed a friend's suggestion to try an off-the-shelf sleep aid. I have to say it works well for me. After several weeks of one a night, I noticed that my old nemesis arthritis was acting up. I have not had a serious flare-up since I was in my late 20s, so it's been a great run. Researching the side effects of the sleep aid, I was dismayed to find that it is known to aggravate arthritis. Within 20 minutes of swallowing just one of those, I headed for a handful of antacids. I have no idea if allowing time for the sleep aid residue to leave my body will improve the condition of my left knee, and I am thankful that there are still walking canes kicking around. There was an unusual sound at 5 one morning. I lay there listening and realized that it was the washing machine on spin cycle. But I had started a small load of laundry the night before and left the unit to do its thing. Now it was spinning and spinning, the lid not locked and no green light glowing, simply spinning away. At that point, I unplugged it and went back to bed. In the morning, no amount of fiddling and adjusting got it doing anything more than that. Nope. Done with that week. All right, Watching the World Around Us by Ken Waddell, right in the center. Driving by a field on Highway 5 on Sunday, north of Neepawa, reminded me of a line of something I have been working through for a few years now. Sunday was very windy, and so it wasn't surprising that a bunch of ravens and several bald eagles were grounded. I'm sure they could have been flying, but they chose not to do so. One raven was flying into the wind and looked like it was actually going backwards. Both Christine and I spent our first 18 years wandering the fields and bush of rural southern Manitoba. She at Scarth and I at Holland. We saw a lot of plants, animals, and birds in our day. It should be noted that, although perhaps we weren't as observant as we should have been, the things of nature we see today are somewhat different. Today we see dozens, if not hundreds, of white-tailed deer. We saw whitetails in the 50s and 60s, but usually one or a few. I lived in deer country at Holland, but only once do I remember seeing about a dozen deer in one bunch. We saw Canada geese, but rarely snow geese. Their range has changed, and there are many more, it seems. One theory I have tested with far north residents is that they used to harvest eggs much more than they do now. The Inuit moved off the land in droves in the 50s, and that slowed the egg harvest, hence more geese, especially snow geese. We didn't used to see ravens. We didn't see ravens until the 1980s in this part of Manitoba. Same with bald eagles. They are now commonly sighted and in groups like we saw last weekend. I will readily admit that our observations are just that. They are our experience and not scientific research. Other observations combined with some studies seem to show we have more beaver than we used to have. With all these musings and findings, one would have to ask why the changes. The common media and government mandated answer would be global warming. Could be, I guess, but it's still up for question if we do have global warming compared to a few thousand years ago. If the world is warmer, why do we find evidence of tropical plants and animals frozen into the ancient tundra? It's not as warm as it was back then. That statement should get the media and government types all annoyed with me. There are, however, things we do know that have changed, and rather than blaming farmers for real or imagined climate changes, let's give them some credit. In the 1950s, 1/3 of the cropland was in summer fallow, which means it was cultivated or disked all summer to control weeds and conserve moisture. That has mostly changed, so there is 1/3 more land in actual production of hay, pasture, and crop residue for wildlife to eat, to hide, and thrive in. Thank a farmer that there are more of everything, including deer. Also thank a farmer that the land isn't as warm as it used to be when 1/3 of the land was kept black all summer. We can thank people that there are fewer deer hunted than 50 to 70 years ago. Most are now harvested in season. I know from my family's experience in the 1930s, a deer was shot when meat was needed, in season or not. Now, this column isn't and doesn't pretend to be scientifically defined. That said, I think it's important to sift through the mountains of words that are pushed at us about how the world is going to hell in a handbasket due to farming and fossil fuels and a whole bunch of other government-sponsored narrations. Just for laughs, how about this latest one I read? The shipping industry was told they had to clean up how much dirty fuel they burned. They have, and now there is less haze over the shipping lanes. Guess what? Without this oil-induced haze to block out some sun rays, the oceans are a bit warmer. My message is consistent. Look around, make your own observations, and rest assured that what the government tells you is often questionable and sometimes blatantly wrong. Disclaimer, the views expressed in this column are the writer's personal views and are not to be taken as being the view of the Banner and Press staff. All right, next we have Neil Stroshine, Faithfully Yours. This week it's entitled Haunting Words. In 1990, Iraqi forces invaded Kuwait. Within 48 hours, they had overrun the country and sent its government into exile. The international community, led by the United States, launched a counterattack called Operation Desert Storm. Iraqi armies were forced to retreat. As they did, they set fire to over 700 Kuwaiti oil wells. From the air, it looked like the whole country was on fire. The wells were soon capped and the fires extinguished, but huge tracts of land were covered with oil, creating one of the worst environmental disasters in human history. Today, 33 years later, some of the contaminated soil lies buried under 3 to 4 feet of drift sand, causing some to wonder if it will or can ever be cleaned up. The war's objectives were met. Kuwait's independence was restored. Its government returned from exile. A fragile peace came to the region and is still in place, but the environmental disaster remains. In ancient times, those who won a war came home with wagon loads of valuable items taken from those they conquered. That doesn't happen as much today. After the bombs have been dropped, crops in the fields have been flattened by tanks, trucks and infantry boots, and buildings, roads and bridges destroyed by shells and other explosives. Not much is left. Just fields filled with craters, forests and pastures destroyed by fire, and piles of rubble where stately buildings once stood. Another mess that will take years to clean up, but whose scars may never disappear. That task will be left to the civilians, those from each community who survived the bombs and shelling that destroyed their homes and businesses and took the lives of some of their relatives and friends. In time, they will recover and recycle the iron, steel, and copper from burnt-out tanks, trucks, and guns. And they will haul away the rubble from buildings destroyed by bombs. But they will do so carefully, always on the alert for unexploded bombs or shells that, if triggered, could cause additional damage and take additional lives. But first they will bury their dead. Their bodies will be treated with dignity and respect, carefully prepared and then laid to rest in community cemeteries. Simple markers will adorn the graves. Some will display the names of those buried beneath them, and others will not. But at last, they all can rest in peace and their families can begin to heal. In a few years, the scars of war will disappear from the land. It is amazingly resilient. But the lives of those whose bodies lie in the community cemeteries can never be reclaimed. They may be unknown to us, but they will never be unknown to God. One day, they will be raised to life again. One day, they may come to some of us and say, "The men and women who came from your country and fought on our soil knew why they were there. They knew what and who they were fighting for. They came to set us free from those who wanted to make us slaves. We used the freedom they gave us to rehabilitate our land, rebuild our homes and businesses, and restore our national pride." Then they will ask us a sobering question. By restoring our freedoms, your soldiers made sure you wouldn't lose yours. What have you done with the gift they gave you? Even as I write these lines, these words, they haunt me. They should haunt us all and make us eager to do all we can to pray and work for peace in our time. It's so hard to believe that war is still happening in this day and age. Now, there's a young fellow named Ranzel Santos who is an NCI work experience program. And he has written an article, "My Beliefs in Money." And there's an editor's note. Ranzel Santos is an NACI work experience student at the Neepawa Banner and Press. He, like several other students over the years, is spending a few days learning about the newspaper business, and this is an article that he wrote. Money is something that people have been using for thousands of years. The ancient Mesopotamian people used the first known currency around 5,000 years ago. It's something of value that we use to exchange for goods and services. Because money has become so important, I have beliefs that I try to follow for the use of money and how to use it wisely. Not spending more than you make, not buying things that friends force you into, and investing in good quality items are three beliefs that I have about money. Not spending more than you make is my first belief, and in my opinion, it's the most important one that I have out of my 3 points. Spending more than you make results in having less than before, and continually spending more money than you make will eventually result in having no money at all, which means not having anything to pay for bills, food, or anything else a person would need. Spending more than you make is a fast way for a person to accumulate debt. As an example of spending more money than you make is wanting to follow the trends and wanting the automatic satisfaction of having something like getting the newest phone or popular brand name clothing or footwear. I had a family friend that recently moved to another province that wanted to buy a new computer to use for himself. He worked and saved up most of his money for his new computer, but needed to borrow money from his brother to get it. My friend told me that he was working to repay his sibling, and one day he forgot his lunch at home, but he couldn't get anything to eat near his work because he didn't have enough to get anything, so he had to wait until he got home. Not buying things that friends force you into is my second belief. It's important when it comes to overcoming peer pressure. While we can trust friends with many things, they do not have the final say with what you use your own money for. You should always think before you're pressured into purchasing something you might regret buying later on. For example, there was this one time when my friends were playing a new video game together, and wanted me to join them. I saw that it was a few dollars to play it, and my friends constantly told me that it was worth it to buy. I got it even though I wasn't very interested, and I didn't enjoy playing it at all. I still have regrets about buying it since I don't even play it anymore, and the one time I did wasn't very enjoyable. Another reason for not buying stuff that friends force you into is because of peer pressure to buy alcohol or nicotine products that will negatively affect your health. He goes on to say, and lastly, investing in good quality items is my third belief that I have about money. To me, investing in good quality items is important because getting use or value out of something worth your money is important. It's important to invest in good quality items because things with poor quality won't last or work as well. An example of a good choice to invest in good quality items would be when purchasing rock climbing equipment. Rock climbing is a potentially dangerous activity, and having poorly made equipment that's bound to break puts you at risk of injury. Sometimes it's better to get things that will last and work for a slightly larger price tag than to get something for cheap that won't do you well. Investing in good quality items is important because you want to get your money's worth out of things. There was one time when my family bought cheap paint to recolor the walls of the basement in my house. But after a while, it became chipped and cracked, so we had to redo it almost entirely with better paint that we should have bought in the first place. Not spending more than you make, not buying stuff friends force you into, and investing in good quality items are three beliefs that I have about money. Because you won't lose all your money if you don't spend more than you make, you'll get your money's worth by purchasing good quality items, and you won't have regrets if you don't buy stuff friends force you into. Money is important because we use it to purchase things that we need or want, and we should always keep in mind to spend it wisely. Well, that's awesome. It doesn't say how old he is, but that he's at the high school, so a young teenager wrote that. It's excellent. Okay, we're almost done the paper. It's not very big this week. So the last article I'm going to read is Looking Back by Casper Verhan. It actually goes back 125 years, Wednesday, November 16th, 1898. Oh my Lord. Glenella. Owing to the condition of the roads, no wheat has as yet been marketed here, but better things are hoped for, as our buyer, Mr. W. Fraser, is expected here next week. Also, Glenella. F. Attenborough has left this locality and is now in Gladstone. He intends returning to the old country. A collection of maps of the Yukon district, 10 in number, arranged on a scale of 6 miles to the inch, have just been received at the press office from the interior. They are a reliable reference to those proposing a trip to that far-off country. And rumors have been circulated about town lately of the impending prosecution of certain hotel keepers for illegal selling of liquor, but it transpires there is nothing in it. In matters of this kind, wouldn't it be better for the gossips to hold their tongues unless they can give us some evidence that would weigh with the magistrate? Hotel keepers should not be slandered. Okay, 100 years ago, Friday, November 16th, 1923. In Burnie, the old library has been sent away and a new one ordered. Be on the watch and get your pick of books. Also in Burnie, the directors of the Memorial Park wish to thank the ladies who got up the masquerade ball on Wednesday evening. The proceeds were in aid of the park. In Eden, Nicholas Adamic had the misfortune of having his barn with 6 horses and 5 sheep burnt last Saturday night, partly covered by insurance. In Glencairn, sorry to hear that Harvey McIntosh is giving up farming. There is a howl about bootlegging in Winnipeg. It may be true, but there is none in Neepawa. We haven't the price. "75 years ago, Thursday, November 18th, 1948, the strike of the coal miners in Estevan area in Saskatchewan has been felt by the Canadian Industries Limited salt plant here in Neepawa. The local plant was forced to virtually shut down at 12 midnight last Saturday when supply of coal was too low to carry on production. Most of the plant workers have been laid off until the supply of coal is replenished. The office staff, the maintenance crew, and the loading crew at the present time are the only employees of the company now working." Martin O'Day, manager of the local plant, explained that his company buys their coal from the Great West Coal Company, whose employees are not taking part in the strike, but that company's mines were being picketed. The duration of the coal strike is, of course, indefinite, and officials could shed no light on how long the local plant would be shut down. 50 years ago, Thursday, November 15th, 1973, Agriculture Minister Sam Yusku has announced the establishment of a new Inter-Ridge Veterinary Services District covering the southern portion of the local government district of Alonza. Sunday, October 28th, Mr. and Mrs. Charles Grasby celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary with a come-and-go tea at the home of their son-in-law and daughter, Mr. and Mrs. R.M. Brugger of Neepawa, followed by a family supper for about 30 people. In Brookdale, the family of Mrs. M. Mickelson held an informal tea in Brookdale School Saturday, November 10th to honor their mother on her 86th birthday. In Franklin, Mr. and Mrs. Hugh Berry, accompanied by Mr. Berry of Winnipeg, motored to Castor, Alberta to attend their son Glenn's wedding on November 3rd. They returned home early in the week. Congratulations are extended to the young couple. And lastly, 20 years ago, Monday, November 17th, 2003, Neepawa's Sears store is undergoing a major expansion, offering a full line of brand name home electronics and appliances. Of course, Sears is no more. Workers at Neepawa's Prairie Forest Products continue to walk the picket line as a strike enters its third week. A pasture pipeline looked like a good idea in the initial stages of creating a grazing system from Brian and Ann Barron of Carberry. As it turned out, the pipeline, along with some different management, saved the Barons a lot of time and money. It also established a rotational grazing system without the need for fences. So that is it for this week's edition of the Neepawa Banner and Press. Thank you so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you another week. So bye for now.